audio at your end also fine. So we are all good.
And welcome back to Vanessa's podcast. So today I have an author with me, and he has a book called The Last War and Other Things. And he is going to let us know about the history of the methods of speaking among Indian religion. Is that it? Hi there. Welcome to the show.
Yes, Vanessa.
So I'm glad that you came here today. You have a
Welcome.
wonderful book.
So much.
Yeah, no problem. So how do your book get published?
Right. So, Vanessa, thank you first of all. Thank you so much for calling me in this session. And as far as my book is concerned, The Last War and Other Stories, this is my first science fiction. It's a debut book. And it got published through AVS Pub Publishing, which is a publishing company here in India. So they did the honors for me. And the book is now live worldwide in Amazon, in Flipkart, Mojo, you call it. Yeah.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. And how long did it take you to write each chapters?
Yeah, so if I tell you, like, actually, I'm a working professional, and whenever I get time, I spend on writing. Writing is very sacred to me, and whenever I get a good amount of time, I keep writing. And as far as this book is concerned, I kept writing it over a period of time whenever I got free time for myself. The Last War, it's more like a novella, and it took me quite some time, maybe a few months to finish that. Of course, I sat in bits and pieces to get it completed. And then the unique thing about this book is, apart from this main story, which is around the science fiction and mythology, there are other stories also, which are also based on science fiction. And the other stories are ones which I wrote over a period of time whenever, I had a new idea to talk about. Like, for example, the Genesis is more futuristic. It talks about what happens when we have unlimited power in our hands. Then we have the Holy Temple of Eula, which actually talks about like what would happen if a virus spreads in an alien planet where some of our things have gone, and how they handle it with the help of the aliens out there. And there's a secret there. There's a lot of depth in it as far as spirituality is concerned. Then there's a story called Blink. Probably I'll talk more about it later. And then Resurrection. So there are 5 stories, out of which the one story, which is The Last War, is more like a novella, a short novel. And probably in a span of 4 to 5 years, I finished the book.
Oh, wow, that sounds like a lot of work. It took you a lot of time to do this. Because would you say it's a complicated book to read? Is there a lot of reference in there? How did you come about to find everything you needed to write the best way possible?
Right. I wouldn't call it complicated because most of the readers who have gone to the book found it like it's a complicated topic, but then it has been put across in a very simple way, which anyone can read and relate to. Now, when I talk about the book, The Last War, the main story, it's, as I said, it's a mythological science fiction. So it dates back to ancient India, where I'm talking about a time when it's believed that we had this big Mahabharata war, which involved a lot of killing, and there was like total devastation. But for a reason, for righteousness, for virtue, it had to be done. Mm-hmm. And evil had to go out of the equation. Now, after that, I'm talking about a time when what would happen to the descendants? How did they face other kind of massive invasions or problems in the country? And that's a time when we find that there are other civilizations also, which are like thriving across the world. We have the Mayan civilization, we have civilizations in Egypt, and all of them are like thriving with a lot of enlightenment. They have knowledge, wisdom, and they are like scientifically very advanced, technologically very advanced, and they communicate just like the way we do today in today's world. So how they all come together and face some of these imminent dangers, which is likely to even like destroy the world. So the last war also talks about things like the sky gods, which are like very much revered, prayed, and they're believed to have come from the skies with technologies which are very alien. So would they really come down to help? What would be the repercussion if they really go about doing a devastation? Would they really take sides of the humans? So these are the questions which I try to answer through a very a kind of a story which is knitted across this kind of background or imagination.
Okay, sounds good.
And the language which I put across is like very universal. And certain emotions, the way people or humans would really interact or feel, are very, very human, which is very, very universal across our world. So everyone who has read, whether it is in India or in US or any part of the world, they have really enjoyed it.
That sounds wonderful. I really like that. Which part of the book would you say is the most interesting part?
All right. I think I would like to pick a few of them. Like, for example, if I'm talking about the last war, I think the end when the suspense really opens and the war is going on at its peak, there's one part which I personally like. When I talk about the other stories, I think my favorite would be like the Holy Temple of Eula, where a crew goes in future, I'm talking about futuristic, where a crew goes and they set up a station in an alien planet, which is of course habited by the alien species there. They are very, very spiritually advanced. And there's one particular aspect of it where when they're looking for answers and they're fighting against a virus which they don't know anything about in an alien environment, the aliens actually connect them back to a very, very universal and fundamental thing about spirituality. And there is this concept where if we want to be, like as I say, like that God becomes man and man becomes God again. So it's like you connect with the universe and you realize that all the solutions, all the problems can be resolved within ourselves. So that's a kind of a message which comes out of that story, and I think that is one part which I really love.
Yeah, it sounds really inspiring. It sounds like something that we all need right now, today, with the world going, all of these things going on. So what do you think makes a good story in your mind, like when you're writing?
Can you repeat that?
What do you think makes a really good story for readers to be attracted to?
Right. So the kind of feedback I got from my readers as of this thing is that like they want a story which they can connect to.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's just, whichever genre you like, whether it's science fiction or it's a romantic novel, it's important that you connect with the people as far as the emotions are concerned.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
The second thing I felt was the language, which should be simple, easy to understand, and that really helps the audience and it reaches out to more people to read and absorb new concepts or ideas which the author wants to put across. And this is something which all my readers who have read so far have given the kind of feedback.
So this is the feedback you have received from this book so far. Can you tell me more about what else you heard from people who have read the book?
Right. There have been actually feedback from different parts of the world.
Mm-hmm.
If I talk about India, who are able to relate more with the epic, with which is the background of the story, so they really enjoyed it because they could immediately connect to the epics and the ancient texts that I was able to relate to. When I go, when the people who have actually given feedback to me from, say, US or from, say, uh, France or any other part of the country of the world. So what their feedback has been that they could relate with something which is like, I mean, they found it very easy to read. They could relate with their emotions, and some of the stories which they felt, especially because it's a science fiction book, was about technology. I mean, I'm talking about the story called Blink, where the main lead, the character Anna, she loses her eyes in an accident. She has to go through a surgery, and that surgery, unfortunately, has to. I mean, she's replaced with eyes of the Felino sapiens. When I talk about Felino sapiens, I'm talking about they're similar to humans, but then they are like evolved from the cat family. And when she's replaced with the cat's eyes, she gets a totally different vision. How would she relate? How would she react? It's very much traumatic for her, both the accident as well as what has happened to her. I'm talking about futuristic time. I'm talking about times when, for example, this body transplant, organ transplant will be very easy. You can transplant any alien or animal organs also to humans. But what would be the repercussion of it? Can she come out of it? And then the story tells about like what kind of incidents happened, how her past again comes back to haunting to her, and she faces it bravely and comes out of it. So these are the kind of human elements which is there along with the scientific element of it. And that's the kind of thing which I'm trying to put. Yes.
Yeah, it sounds like something that, definitely gonna make somebody wants to read it, and interesting, really interesting. Wow, can you read a few parts of your book, if you mind? Maybe just a few lines.
Sure. So let me read from the book The Last War. I will start with the opening lines of the book.
Okay.
I'm talking about 2080 BCE. The epic war that was fought thousands of years ago was thought to be the last. But everyone was mistaken. It looked like the ancient magic was still around. New lessons were learned, old secrets were revealed, new allies were made, and everyone hoped to save the city of Mohenjo and Harappa. So here Mohenjo and Harappa are the ancient cities which existed thousands of years ago in the land of India.
Okay.
So here I think I will read one paragraph from chapter 2, which is one of my favorites. This is how it starts. The Gandharva army is actually the enemy which attacked the land of India. So the Gandharva army was stretched wide and was visible as far as one's visions could go across the horizon. It was making gradual progress after taking sufficient rest after their first victory. Princess Charulata, with her sharp eyes, was looking through a small telescope across the horizon from the top of one of the watchtowers erected near the city walls of the Harappa city. She was beautiful, brave warrior. She was dressed in the military outfit with the armor covering her front and back. She had put on the metal headgear. The sword rested in the sheath and was tied to her waistline for her dhoti. She also had a metal quiver tied to her back, where she had sufficient number of poison arrows. She went to check all the posts mounted on top of the city walls. The city was in a defined perimeter. Further inside the walls, the structured city was well protected by these enormous walls. Soldiers were lined up across the entire stretch of the huge boundary walls. Workers were seen running and preparing the containers with hot water. So it's just a prelude to the invasion and how they are preparing themselves to fight the war.
Okay.
And then it goes around talking about the city, about the temples, and how the city is fortified. It's more like a citadel. And then finally, they clash, and how Princess Charulata puts her best efforts to save the city, which she is not able to. Will they still be able to survive, still be able to attack and gain back the land which they lost is the rest of the story.